This is Legal Live with Eddie and Chuck Farah. They're talking the latest legal news and answering your questions. To call Legal Live and ask Eddie and Chuck a question, grab your phone and dial 855-765-1045. That's 855-765-1045.
You are listening to Legal Live, brought to you by Farah Farah on 104.5 WOKV, Jacksonville's News and Talk. I'm Sheifalika, and today I'm joined by Eddie. Welcome back. How have you been?
Thanks, Sheifalika. We had one of our attorneys in the office last week was here, Tom Normando. He did a great job, I heard.
Yes, he did. We talked about artificial intelligence with vehicles and liability there. It was fascinating. We had some incredible callers.
Yeah, that's cool stuff. And that will develop and evolve, and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, it's fascinating and also terrifying.
Yeah, what we're going to talk about today, I got some stuff I want to talk about. Of course, your phone calls are a priority. We'll take those first as they come in. But I'm going to ask if we can find him, Brian Flaherty. He's my partner at Farah Farah, and he and I have been working together for, I don't know, almost 30 years now. But prior to he and I working together, he worked for the city attorney's office and represented JSO, represented the police whenever they got involved in a civil rights type situation or a lawsuit. And I want to ask him about that high-speed chase this week, which resulted in the SUV or the vehicle driving off of the expressway. I think it was 9B and into a retention pond. And I think a kid was involved, and the driver survived, the child died. And I always wonder about these high-speed chases, and maybe if any police officers are listening, they can chat. We'd love for them to chime in.
Yeah, that'd
their
be
perspective
great.
on it too, because I know Brian knows the law better than I do. I know a little bit about it. I know you really can't. I mean, somebody runs a stop sign, you can't ensue a high-speed chase just to get somebody who ran a stop sign. But there are rules and regulations that deal with what police can do when they're in a hot pursuit of someone. And I think we'll talk to Brian about that and see whether there's any type of civil rights claim that can come out of what happened this week over there on 9B. And we'll probably get into that in about 10 more minutes. 10 or 15. In the meantime, I want to talk about a new law that's on the books. It just went into effect a few months ago. You know, people get arrested. Yeah, things happen, you know. You get arrested, but sometimes, you know, after an arrest, you're declared you're not guilty, or the state attorney drops the charges. They do that a lot. Many people are arrested, and the result is that the state attorney feels that it's not a viable claim or viable case, so they drop the charges, you know, but you've already been arrested. So there's a mugshot, and that mugshot's on the internet. But there's a new law that was passed in the state of Florida that if the charges were dropped, then you can have, if it's a private, because most of these mugshots on the internet now are from private companies. It's not the state or it's not the city. It's people, it's just private companies that are involved, you know, it's on the internet.
Wow,
They're
really?
selling information. They got pictures. It's a way to make some money and, you know, and so on. So anyway, now that law has been passed, if the charges have been dropped, you can require that private company to remove the mugshot from the internet. So it's not there anymore. And if they don't do it, there can be civil penalties involved that will require them to pay damages to you for keeping that mugshot on the internet. So keep that in mind in the unfortunate situation you're arrested, charges are later dropped, and there's your mugshot on the internet. You can have it removed. It was inspired by Blake Mathese, who was arrested. He was a student, and the judge dropped the charges. His mugshot stayed online, and so, you know, he just thought that wasn't fair because, I mean, you know, they dropped all the charges. So he was able to get this law passed, or he was the driving force behind getting this law passed that allows that, which I think is probably a good thing.
Yeah,
you know,
actually.
Yeah, because they can, your mugshot's up there. People see it. They don't know the charges have been dropped.
They don't.
And they don't
and
know
he's
any-
a student. He's got his whole life ahead of him.
Yeah, exactly.
That could impair his job
And you know how
search.
employers are. They look at up that stuff.
Right.
They'll all look it up. So
Wow.
anyway, I thought that's a good law.
That is a good law. I like that one.
Yeah. So anyway, the other thing is I want to move on to is that, you know, there's an interesting case that came out of Florida that had to do with somebody that was trying to get a loan. This person wanted to borrow like $300,000-$400,000. He really didn't have any collateral. The collateral that he had was a baseball card. And he said this baseball card was worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. So the person that was going to loan him the money took the baseball card to a sports memorabilia appraiser.
Mm-hmm.
And the appraiser says, yeah, the card is authentic. It's worth, $300,000-$400,000.
Wow.
So this person loans the card owner a bunch of money. The person who borrows the money defaults, doesn't pay off the loan. So then, of course, the person who loaned the money has the baseball card.
Mm-hmm.
And he figures, I'm secure. The card is worth a bunch of money. So he takes the card to another sports memorabilia appraiser. And that appraiser said, the card is not authentic. It's worthless.
No.
Yeah, the card is not worth anything. All right, so what he does, the person who loaned the money, sues the sports memorabilia appraiser because he relied on that appraisal to make the loan.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the court ruled that, yes, you can do that because the person who appraised the card originally had a financial interest in giving you that appraisal, that you can hold them responsible for that improper appraisal.
Mm-hmm.
And the court made a distinguish that from what they call a sort of a drive-by appraisal. Let's say, you could do the same thing. Let's say you had an antique car or something. You wanted to put up as collateral. Somebody who's not in the business, you just drive by and say, what do you think this car is worth? And they just sort of give you an off-the-cuff appraisal of, that car's probably be worth $50,000. But if it's only worth, you can't hold that person responsible. You really can't rely on their appraisal because they're not in the business of doing that.
Oh, I see.
So somebody just gives you a sort of a curbside appraisal and says, yeah, I think it's worth this or worth that, and you rely upon that appraisal, it's probably not going to get you anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But in this particular situation, he had gone to a sports memorabilia appraiser that deals in sports memorabilia.
Right, like a specialist.
So that's the difference there, and that makes sense. If Eddie Farah gives you an appraisal on a baseball card, really can't rely on it because I'm not in the business of doing it. I really don't know that much about it, but it can apply. But I just thought that was an interesting situation there.
I wonder if the guy who did the first appraisal was somehow in on it. Was it like a scam? I wonder.
Who knows? They didn't get into that, but yeah. So
authenticating something like that, vintage like baseball cards, that's a big deal.
You got to know what you're doing. Yeah,
you do.
But you know how people are. People. Oh, I bet it's worth, this. I bet it's worth that.
Right. So I guess always get a second opinion.
Well, you get some from well. Yeah. You should have got a second opinion.
That's a lot of money to loan out and never get back.
It is.
Wow.
But,
that's incredible.
Yeah. So.
Well, it looks like we might be headed out for a little break right now. But when we come back, we're going to talk to your friend about that high-speed chase.
Right.
I was about to say high school chase. All right. Well, you guys are listening to Legal Live on 104.5 WOKV, Jacksonville's News and Talk. Feel free to give us a call, 855-765-1045. We'll be right back after this quick break. Welcome back. You are listening to Legal Live on 104.5 WOKV, Jacksonville's News and Talk. Feel free to give us a call, 855-765-1045. I know we've got some callers on the line, but first we're going to go straight to your friend, Brian.
Thanks, Sheifalika. Brian Flaherty is on the line with us. Brian and I, as I said previously, is my partner at Farah Farah, and we've worked together for a couple of decades at least, and have had trials together. We've had trials. We've done a lot of stuff together. But Brian, prior to that, represented the JSO, worked for the city in the city attorney's office, represented the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office in many different situations, civil rights cases and all that. So I asked him to get on the phone today because I wanted to ask him about that high-speed chase that took place this week where the car ran off the road, goes into a retention pond, the child is killed, and the driver survives. And
tragic.
Yeah. There's law. Brian, isn't there specific statutes and laws and regulations dealing with these types of high-speed chases?
Absolutely. You start at the beginning of the process, and it's important for everybody to know. All we know about what actually happened is what the media has reported. There'll be an extensive investigation. There'll be reports not only for the chase itself, but for the actions the officers took before and after the event. So everything will be documented and understood from all the witnesses that are there. The sheriff's office here is accredited, and that means they have to meet the highest standards nationally regarding things like use of force when they use their firearms and for their chase policy that's there. That's all governed by policy. They have what's called SOPs, standard operating procedures, and they have general orders by which the officer's conduct is all governed. That's how they're trained. And the initial call that went out, you have to remember what the officers are told, what they knew, and what maybe they should have known. What they were told was that this was an armed kidnapping of a child. That was the initial report. So pretty much anything short and a high-speed pursuit is going to be justified to protect and to try to stop the armed kidnapping of a child, which is how it was initially reported. And of course, the chase was extensive. Multiple vehicles were involved. Speeds up to 90 miles an hour, what were reported. And then the driver of the vehicle lost control. So it was a tragic outcome, but the underlying justification for the chase itself, this is not about a speeding ticket. This is not about reckless driving. This is not about a DUI. This was about an reported armed kidnapping of a child. So the officers that were involved knew that it was a very, 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 very dangerous situation, and they engaged in that chase, and their conduct is governed. It's not just the officers in the pursuit. It'll be back at the communications center that they'll have a supervising officer who will be listening to everything and has complete authority over the chase and can call it off if they determine that it's in violation of any of their procedures or that there's too much danger to the public or to the officers or to even the vehicle that they're chasing. And that's a determination that the officer who's in charge will have to make, and they'll be back at the communications center for that kind of thing.
But Brian,
so all of this is
you're on 9B. That's a pretty busy road. I mean,
oh, absolutely.
I mean,
absolutely.
You're going to chase. I mean, I don't know. I mean, is there another
well,
way to stop them?
That's a judgment question, Eddie. You're asking the right ones. You know, what if it was a side street? What if they went into a shopping mall with people there? All this are hard questions to be asked. And I'm not saying that those questions are not valid ones, but you look at it from a law enforcement viewpoint. You have an armed kidnapping of a child. And so far as that perspective is concerned, I think the officers have to be given a lot of discretion and leeway in regard to their determination of what is appropriate for that situation, and the supervising officer who's listening to the reports back for the area, the amount of danger that's involved. And remember this, all of this was created by the kidnapper herself as to her engaging in speeds 90 miles an hour, her picking these locations. And the officers have to make decisions about at what point is the danger, the risk, greater than, to try to the recovery of this child. And that's a very terrible burden to have to weigh upon anybody to make that as a judgment call.
But can't they knock out the tire? Can't they shoot out the tires or something like that? Is that more?
That's a misnomer. The use of firearms, the use of deadly force, which is what the firing of a gun is incredibly limited for what they can do and how they're trained. And that's not something under the most extraordinary circumstances I can ever imagine taking place, in all honesty. And I think the sheriff's office, the people that are there that are most qualified and up to date on that, would be the proper ones to address it. But I would have been shocked if that had been actually taken place. I don't think that's possible. I don't think it's permissible to engage in that kind of thing, the use of the guns to take out tires and do anything else.
But I think it was the mother.
It's not a movie.
I know that. Oh, yeah.
But they didn't know that at the time.
Well, I thought they knew it was the mother.
They didn't know if it was right.
I thought they knew it was her mother. Oh, they didn't? Okay.
Well, I don't know that they knew that. Yeah. And even if they did, if it's an armed kidnapping, if they took her from a lawful custodian, whether she be her mother or her cousin or her aunt or a friend of the family or anyone else, the report of an armed kidnapping is an armed kidnapping. And you can't get much more serious than that kind of approach to a crime than to have engaged in that from the police officer's standpoint. And frankly, I respect the job that they're out there doing, because it's very difficult to make those judgment calls under very limited circumstances with very limited information. And I believe that all those officers did everything they could to protect the life of that child and the woman who was driving the car and the public in general. That was been my experience with the sheriff's office. They were very aggressive, trying to do the things the right way. That was my experience in dealing with these kinds of situations.
Right.
It was a tragedy. The officers, after that crash, went into that pond to try to recover that child and people. They put themselves at risk when they went in and did other things there to try to end the situation. So very difficult. And we're going to know more about the facts when the reports themselves come out over the next weeks and months, and that will give us a much better understanding of what happened that night.
Well, let me ask you this: if let's say that the chase was improper, they shouldn't have engaged her in that high-speed chase. I mean, if they didn't engage her at all, would she have? They could have pulled back, and she would have just driven the normal speed, and eventually ran out of gas. I don't know. I mean, anybody can. Now hindsight, anybody can look back and say, just leave her alone. Just kind of follow her, or let people ahead know that she's out there, and let her run out of gas, and we can get it. But I guess you never know. I mean, hindsight, anybody can make a decision. But what if the chase was not proper? What are the legal? What's there legal to be done? I mean, what kind of case?
Well, there's a number of things that are there. The first is there's criminal and there's civil. On the criminal side, there's both the state level and the federal level. They can look at it from a federal level in regards to the child's death as a potential civil rights violation criminally. That's on the criminal side, on the federal level. And on the state level, the state attorney here can also look at this for actions against individual officers, even the supervising officer, if they gave inappropriate instructions contrary to policy and contrary to law for the officers to continue to engage in a pursuit that was arguably illegal. And that's the extreme end of it. That's the criminal side. Then there's the civil side. And obviously you can talk about the guardian of the child, and I don't know if the mother was or was not. That's how it's been reported. She was the mother. Yep. But the legal guardian of the child obviously has the rights to take certain actions that were there. And anybody who might have been, in regard to this pursuit, there was no reports of it. Anybody who was injured as a result of this chase has a potential right of action against the sheriff's office and or the city, depending on the circumstances that are there. You can do that under both, state tort law in regard to excessive force or negligence, or you can look at it under federal law, 42 U.S.C. 1983, as a civil rights violation in contrary, which is a policy, practice, custom, or procedure, which was violated. And then you go ahead and you put together your case on that, right, because there are very specific rules and policies governing police chases. And if those were violated in any substantial way, there's going to
it could be it could be like a George Floyd situation, a civil rights violation.
I understand what you're saying. In regard to a lawful arrest that turned into unlawful actions, no question about it.
Right.
But again, that's going to take some time to understand all the facts, and the limited amount we have in front of us. I'm one of those people, over a period of time, you find out additional facts, and that completely changes your perception of what actually was initially reported versus what actually took place.
Yeah.
And I'm just one of those ones. I like to look at the reports. That's why I've encouraged people over the years, and they can have whatever take they want on this.
Yeah.
But I've encouraged them, when they think there's a police impropriety, file a complaint with Internal Affairs. They're there by law to do a full investigation and to report it. And you can look at who they interviewed and everything that was conducted to it. Eventually becomes a public record. And I think it's important the police be above board in the sense that the public knows what it is they're doing, and from the public standpoint, that they have faith in the actions of a police officer, even in a situation if they've made a mistake, that they can see that versus criminal actions. And all of that is what Internal Affairs can help clarify if you think that there's an impropriety that an officer has committed.
Wow.
I think it's important.
Brian, we have to go to a break right now.
Thank you so much, Brian.
The whole thing I wanted to say, Brian, I mean, why don't they just let her run out of gas? I mean, just let her keep going and I don't know. See, again, hindsight's 20/20.
Right, of course.
I mean, anybody can say, not knowing in the heat of the moment. Okay.
Right. We'll be
Brian,
right back after
Appreciate
this quick break. Thank you so much, Brian. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
So much important information there.
Oh, yeah.
You're
Brian
listening to
knows it,
Legal
believe me.
Live, and we'll be right back after this quick break, you guys. Stick with us.
Thank you. Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Welcome back, everyone. It's been an exciting day so far. You're listening to Legal Live on 104.5 WOKV, Jacksonville's News and Talk. Give us a call at 855-765-1045. Right now, we've got a patient caller on the line. Raul from Southside. What's going on?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Hey, Raul,
Doing
how you
well.
Happy Saturday.
Happy
Same to you,
Saturday.
man.
My dilemma is in regards with a dealership. I purchased a vehicle back in January. I was told that the vehicle will be in within 3 weeks. Then it got pushed off to 3 more weeks. Then it got pushed off to 4 more weeks. To where I am at a point now that the DMV is threatening to suspend my driver's license because I do not have insurance on the vehicle, seeing how it's already been registered with the state.
Which the new,
I told.
Also, the new vehicle has been registered with the state.
Yes,
The ones
it's
that
already been registered with the state, but
the
I
one-
do not have it in possession.
You don't have the vehicle, but they've already
Nope,
got
it's
it.
in the shipyard in Minnesota.
Yeah.
To
What?
where I called DMV. I told him the situation. The girl basically said I was pretty much lying and I'm trying to commit fraud, identity theft, and all kinds of other stupid verbiage that she used. But it goes into the vehicle's in the shipyard. I don't have the vehicle. The insurance company was reluctant into putting insurance on the vehicle because I didn't have the vehicle, but I got them to do the state PIP liability just the way I can keep my tag instead of turning my tag in or whatnot.
Yeah, but the problem is you don't have collision coverage on it. If something happens to the vehicle on the way down here, you're going to be out. You may be out of luck. Hello.
Oh, hello, Raul.
Yeah, but
Well, as we get Raul back online,
yeah.
give us a call back, 855-765-1045.
I think the
What do you
problem.
think?
Yeah, well, I think what's going on with Raul. I mean, he has a contract with the dealership, and they were, he pays for a car. They're supposed to deliver the vehicle, and so really they're in breach of the contract. And his claim, he has a claim against the dealership for what is going on right now, and that's who he should be suing. But the thing is, he said he bought the minimal coverage.
Hold on, sir. We got disconnected, and I didn't get any of that information.
Okay,
Welcome
here's what I'm
back.
thinking, Raul. Right now, what bothers me a little bit is you bought the minimum coverage required under Florida law. What I see is that if somebody, I mean, you don't know what kind of condition that car is in right now.
It's supposed to be a brand new 2021.
Yeah, well, it's 2022 now. I mean, I know it's kind of
Yes.
but it could have been hit. If somebody backs into it while it's there, or if somebody does any damage to it and drives off, and you don't know who did the damage because the vehicle's in your name, you're going to have to try to figure out who was responsible. That could be very difficult. And if you don't have full collision coverage on your policy, you're going to have a damaged vehicle, and you're going to have to pay for it out of your pocket. So, I mean, that's one thing I see as a problem. I don't know how you're going to get, you don't have possession of it. The insurance company, when you apply for insurance on a vehicle, they're going to ask you the location of the vehicle. It's on the application. If you tell them that the car is in Minnesota, that may be a red flag, and the underwriting is going to look at that, and they're going to charge you more for the insurance because you don't have the car. And you really can't be honest where the car is. So even if you do make an insurance claim, they may say that there was a misrepresentation on the application and you don't even have insurance, even though you paid for it.
So what do I do?
Well, your gripe should be with the dealer. The dealer is the one.
It is.
Well, you should.
Yeah, and they're just pushing me off, and it's Beaver freaking Chevrolet. Talk about the wow factor. Yeah, I got a wow factor.
Yeah, the wow. Yeah, well, you have a claim against them. Your claim, they breached the contract. I don't even know if you want that. You have a lot. I mean, when did you pay for it? How long ago did you pay for it?
I bought it in January. I made my first payment in March because it was supposed to be here well before my first payment.
I know that, but you've lost use of the car for the last 2 months. You've had no use of the car, a car that you purchased. That's part of your claim against against the dealership, because they did not deliver a car that you were supposed to receive, and you have lost use of that vehicle. So what you're entitled to is what it would have cost to rent a similar vehicle during that period of time. And right now, it's very expensive to rent a car. It's probably a few $1,000 they owe you.
Yeah, well, they offered me a rental car.
Okay.
Till my vehicle gets here. But when I called Chevy dealer themselves, they have no projection date of when this vehicle is going to be delivered.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what to tell you. I think, I don't know. To me, again, it's a breach of contract. Somebody's not doing what they're supposed to. The car is in Minnesota. They can put it on a trailer and bring it down here. It's very simple.
That's what I said.
It's not a bit. Logistically, it's very easily done. These people do it every day. They bring cars in from all over the country on a regular basis. I just don't know why they can't get you this vehicle. Maybe, I don't know. Who knows what happened? To me, I would start being. I would do a Carfax report on it and make sure that nothing's happened to it while it's been up there.
Mm.
Gotcha, but it's in Chevy's hands, from my understanding, because it's like a brand new vehicle. Nobody drove it. It's got it may have 5 miles on it by the time I get it.
Well, then why is it still up there for 2-3 months?
Nobody can answer me that question. When I talked to Chevy, Chevy was dumbfounded, and Chevy was like, well, it's really pointless for me to call the managing logistic person who does delivery, because they can just tell me that it's going to take however long to get it done, but their process is their process. I mean, this was just a customer care person that I talked to, but I'm like...
Did you read the contract to say about delivery date? Does it have a delivery date on the contract?
Yeah, I think so. I do believe it's supposed to be 3 weeks from January 20th. It would have made it by February 15th.
Yeah.
It should have been by the dealer.
Yeah. So what you should do, I mean, you have a valid lawsuit claim against this dealership. You can go to small claims court. They will help you prepare the paperwork. You can do it online even. And you're owed, the loss of use of that vehicle.
Okay.
I mean, it's cost you.
Who can I go do this?
Well, you can do it on your own. I mean, the small claims court, the clerk, I mean, you don't want to hire a lawyer. It's not worth it. I mean, you don't have to pay a lawyer for something you could do on your own. The county clerk in Duval County will help you prepare that law. If you live in Duval or
yes,
each
I live in
county's
Duval.
got one, St. John's, or you could do it in Duval. The clerk at the Duval County Courthouse, you can go online and look up the court of the county clerk, and there are instructions there on how to file your own lawsuit against this company for their failure to deliver that vehicle. And it's very simple.
I think they should pay more than the $5,000 for a small claims court. I think they should be paying. They should pay me the whole freaking.
Well, I know, but small claims court is a lot more. They've raised the limit in small claims court now. It's no longer $5,000. I think it's like $20,000, something like that. So no, what you need, you can get from small claims court.
Gotcha.
Because they've raised the limit. Huh?
Well, let me tell you this: the reason why I purchased a new vehicle was due to the fact I purchased a vehicle from them. It was pre-certified. It had like 17,000 miles, no owner or whatnot.
I thought you told me
when I went to do some work on this vehicle, I found out it was in a wreck. And I took it back to the dealer. I'm like, hey, this vehicle's been wrecked. And they're like, it hasn't been wrecked. It's pre-certified. I'm like, because I put a ball hitch on my bumper, and the ball hitch was pointing towards the tag, like somebody rear-ended it.
Right.
And I'm like, you can't tell me that vehicle hasn't been wrecked. So they repaired that. But then all the other issues that I've had with it in the past 3 years is pretty much why I'm getting rid of this vehicle to get a brand new one. That way I still have the warranty and all the other good crap.
Right. Well, again, you have a valid claim. Loss of use, at least loss of use. I would claim I don't know if you can claim all your time. I mean, your time is valuable too. But the loss of use, and I'll tell you, I tried to rent a car the other day. It was like a mid-sized vehicle. It was like $200 a day. Do the this rental cars are hard to get right now because they're because of everything that happened. And you're talking about at least probably a couple $100 a day adds up to some real money over the last 2 or 3 months.
That's
but
true.
you can claim the loss of use.
That's true.
That's what I would tell the judge.
Well, Raul, we are coming up on a break. If you want to hang on the line, we'll come right back to you in just a few minutes. We can wrap this up. This is a fascinating situation. It's a big problem, isn't it?
Ben Becker needs to get involved.
Yeah,
in this.
you tell me, especially when the state's threatening to suspend your license.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, you got all kinds you're dealing with, but
we'll come right back to you after this quick break. How about that?
Thank you.
This is just hang in there. You're listening to Legal Live on 104.5 WOKV, Jacksonville's News and Talk. We're having an incredible show today, so stay tuned. We'll be right back after this quick break. Welcome back. You're listening to Legal Live on 104.5 WOKV, Jacksonville's News and Talk. We've got callers on the line, and we're going to go straight back to Raul with this car dealership situation.
Raul, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah. Okay, go online after the show and just go to coj.org, I think it is, cityofjacksonville.org. And you can go to the
COJ.net.
you can go to the county.net or whatever. You can go to the county clerk's office, and they'll walk you through how to file a lawsuit. Very simple. And they'll have to pay you. They'll have to reimburse you back your filing fee and the sheriff's fee to serve the papers. But believe me, and you can go to Sunbiz to find out who the registered agent is. That's who the sheriff will send the papers to. Very simple. I mean, they walk you through the whole process. I mean, and you don't have to. It doesn't have to be a form. It can almost be on a handwritten document. You know what they did to you, and you're asking for all the damages you're entitled to. You're entitled to loss of use and any out of pocket anything. Go ahead.
That's what I have a question for you in regards to. I'm still driving my old truck that I'm trading in.
You've lost use of that vehicle. Don't let them throw that at you. You got lost use of your vehicle. You had something you can't use. You paid a lot of money for it. And I tell you, call Ben Becker.
That's my whole point right now.
Yeah, listen, call
I'm
Ben.
for the thing that I do not have.
In the old days, we'd call Ken Amaro. He retired. But now you got to
Ben
call
Becker will get him.
Yeah, send Ben. I mean, that's what I would do. He'll jump right on.
You got this, Raul.
That's got Ben Becker written all over it.
Yeah, for
this
real.
Case.
That's a new spot.
That's a new spot. I'm telling you, Raul, you got a new spot. You really do.
You should come in. We'll do an interview together. How about that?
Man, I got 3 years of a story on Beaver Chevrolet. I'm telling people, don't go to Beaver Chevrolet.
Well,
I mean, you'll get a wow factor.
That's your
I got. I'm talking wild.
I got you. Well, thank you so much, Raul, for calling in.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks.
Thanks for the info.
All right, man.
All right. And we've got Greg in Jacksonville. What's going on, Greg? We've got a few minutes to talk to you. Tell us what's up.
Okay, I'll try to make this as quick as possible. My wife and I belong to a health sharing program, a Christian health sharing program, and we just learned that in 2018, which is about the time we signed up, that this group was under investigation by the Ohio Attorney General's office. They just now settled with that AG. They have been sued in federal court by some of the members, but it hasn't reached class action status. The reason for the complaints and the lawsuit is because they're collecting membership dues, but they're not paying the medical bills, and they're spending the money unwisely, according to the AG's office. My question is this: since it's not class action status yet, do you think that this is something that the Florida Attorney General's office might get involved in, since one state's AG office doesn't represent the other 49? And the other question is, what would you recommend we do here in Florida to try to file a lawsuit or get our bills paid?
Why? They're not paying your bills?
They're not paying the medical bills, and we've got almost probably we've had some surgeries. I'd say we're looking at around $60,000.
Wow, that's a lot of money. Wow.
Yeah.
Are they based in Ohio?
Yes.
Okay, they're based in Ohio, but they have
members are all over the country.
Right, they could be in Florida. Okay, so you could have a claim here because they're based in Ohio doesn't mean you can't pursue it here in Florida, because they're doing business in Florida. Okay, yeah, I tell you, that's something we can maybe look at. I know somebody who maybe can help you with that. If you can give our producer your phone number, your contact information, I'll be in touch with you about that.
Okay.
I mean, do you think this is what kind of settlement? I mean, were they able to pay the?
Well,
go ahead.
Well, I can tell you that they settled with the Attorney General's office rather quickly, and they are obligated to pay a $5 million in fines and a bunch of investigative fees and fees to the AG in the state of Ohio for expenses. But,
Well, does that mean you're going to get your bills paid, or are they going to use some of that $5
million
to pay your bills?
Well, see, that's the thing. I mean, we're in Florida here and have been the whole time. And they violated some IRS laws, according to the allegations made by the Ohio AG, that they're not a legit group and that they cannot claim the things that they're claiming and make the kind of statements that they've been making, fraudulent statements. And it seems to me that I also understand that California Attorney General is is looking into this group, and it seems to me that maybe there's something there for the state of Florida, but that's separate from the individual members and what recourse they may have in the way of federal lawsuit or a class action lawsuit.
Yeah, but typically, if they're the class action, you may not get everything you're entitled through the class action.
Right, I understand that, but it is not class action status yet.
Right. But the thing is, if it may never get to class action because everybody's got a different type of injury. Some people lost 60,
right.
Some people lost 40. Typically, the class actions are like everybody's got sort of the same damage. It's a computer that doesn't work. The computer's worth $200, and everybody's $200 computer doesn't work. But if you'll leave your information, because usually the attorney generals take that money and reimburse the people who have been wronged with it.
Right.
Are they still in business?
Yes.
Okay. Still in business. Okay.
Well, yeah. Leave your number with our producers. We've got you on the line now, so Greg,
I'll
way
be in phone
Eddie,
contact with you.
Yeah, Eddie can
Greg.
reach out to you this week.
Yeah, it may be another TV program there, too.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Well, we've had a jam-packed show full of great ideas. Thank you so much, Greg. I appreciate it.
There's a judge out of Atlanta, Lautenberg.
Right.
And, you may know of her. She is working on, managing a completely different group that's more or less doing the same thing. So it seems like a systemic problem.
With the same company? With the same company?
A different company.
Oh, a different company.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, this is a big deal then. This is happening all over the place.
Yeah, it is a big deal.
Wow. Thank you so much, Greg and Raul and Brian, for joining Eddie and I today. You're listening to Legal Live on 104.5 WOKV, Jacksonville's News and Talk. We'll be back next Saturday at noon. Tune in and we'll see you then. Thanks for listening.